So let's talk about the summary, how all these things are connected. We are talking about the login. So inside login, we are using a two strategy. I mean, we could have used a local strategy, but that is not here. We are just using a JWT strategy. Inside this login, we are using the authentication user controller. I mean, user controller is just helping us to create user. Now inside auth, here we are using just a access JWT. I mean, this is a token strategy that is helping us to extract a JWT token from the request and validate that against a secret token using which we have created token, and then validate the user. Okay, you can also use a local strategy for authentication, like here inside auth controller, but we are doing lots of things manually here inside login. All these thing of validate user by password, this can be done by local strategy to validate. So local strategy is used for validating user during login. JWT strategy is being used to validate JWT token on the private or protected routes. Okay, once you log in, we are sending these cookies. Now, once these cookies reached to this customer, they will try to access other APIs like auth, inside auth controller, inside user controller, we have added like get all users, assign permissions, get your own profile. That is just reading your own data, but any protected API, right? This get all users. So what all things we are doing here? First of all, we need a JWT guard. What this guard is doing, this guard is extracting this access token guard is using this JWT strategy. That is getting the, it is, you can say, a middleware, but middleware and guard both are different. Let's call it as a guard only. Guard is actually before you access this route, I will get your cookies from the access token. Inside cookies, I will validate that using JWT. This is like a local strategy. So it is using this internally, this JWT.verify method. If your token is valid, then it will directly send the token payload to this JWT token payload, and it will validate, okay, you are a valid user. Then it will return it, and you get the user inside request.user object. And once you have the request user object, your actual logic, which is written inside this, will get called. So here you are calling get all users, but only if your token is valid. That is the first thing. Then user role guard. If your token is valid, but you don't have appropriate role, I will send forbidden. But if your token is valid, your role is valid, then I will allow you to call this method. That is just a repository method. Give me all the users. User repo.find, user repo.find with some where conditions is just a type ORM logic. So all these things are, all these pieces are connected like this. So I will not explain much code like, okay, doing lots of things here, but the basic implementation of login with the cookie based, where we are returning cookies and then we are sending those cookies back so that we can validate the cookies and we can decode and validate the role. We are also using refresh token mechanism that can be used. I mean, the code is already written there in the auth controller. Whenever your token expire, you can hit this refresh. Okay. It is using this JWT refresh strategy. You can see refresh token guard. Whenever you hit a refresh, I'm using this refresh token guard. This refresh token guard is also using JWT refresh strategy that is defined here. The strategy JWT refresh, the same name I'm using here. That's important. I have two guards, the strategy JWT and refresh token guard. The auth guard name is JWT refresh. Same name we have to use here in the strategy name, and then we are doing the same. First we are getting the refresh token from the cookies, validating refresh token is valid. We'll check it against the refresh token secret. Then if refresh token is there, first, because refresh token we are storing in the database also, we are validating if refresh token is valid. Then we check the refresh token against the database. If everything is valid, then we just send it, and then we run the appropriate logic inside auth controller. Once refresh token is there, we generate a new refresh token, service.refresh token, and what it is doing, it is doing the same thing, update refresh token, and it is returning a token to us. So this API will just give you the new token that you can set inside a cookies or get it as a response. Okay, so this is how you will get the refresh token. I mean, here you can set the refresh token. Once you receive the refresh token, you can send the response.cookies. Because with the refresh token, you need to get a new access token. So it created a new token, create token, and it is storing that refresh token here. So first of all, when you are sending the refresh token, first we are checking the refresh token which is stored inside database is the same as which you are passing in the headers, sorry, in the cookies. If match found, we'll create a new token and we give a new access token. So what this create token is doing, if you see, create token is creating two different pair of tokens, access token and refresh token. Okay, and we are returning both the tokens to this call. I mean, we can just do the same thing here. We can send the cookies again back. And then response that send. For that, we need to import response, request and response. So here we can just pass token.access token, token.refresh token. That's it. This is the only change you need. So refresh token will also work. You store the refresh token. When your access token expires, you send the refresh token call. We generate both the new tokens and send it in the cookies. So now the next request will be carrying the new access token and new refresh token. So this is the overall authentication using token, using cookies based. Here we are just using this JWT token to be exchanged between client and a server using cookies. So it's purely a cookie based authentication process. Now instead of token, you can have a session ID, anything. I love using tokens, so I generated a tokens post login. Okay, that's it. So this is all about token based authentication. You can check the code and try to understand it. These strategies are just like complex names, but it's the same thing. This is to validate the access token coming in the authorization header. This is a local strategy, I mean JWT strategy to validate a refresh token. I mean, you might have heard about local strategy also. That is mostly used during login, but I actually wrote the logic of login in my code itself. So if you see the login structure, create user, where is the login? Login, yeah. Here I'm validating by myself by getting the request body in the controller, then validating user password by manually by writing code. Okay, so that's all guys. Thanks everyone.